are continuing with our angles unit, and today we are on lesson 3, where we're going to, be introduced to composing and decomposing angles. And before we get started with that, we're going to talk real fast about these vocabulary words. We've seen them before. So composing something, like composing numbers, is when you're putting two or more things together. All right. And then when you're decomposing, we've talked about this before as well, decomposing is when you're breaking something down. And like I said before, we've done this with numbers, and we can also do this actually with angles. So I have an angle here. Okay, I have angle JKL or LKJ, whichever way you want to go. But we're going to go with JKL. And right now it measures 80 degrees. And what I can do is I can actually decompose, or I can break this angle apart into smaller angles. So I'm just going to draw a line, or I'm going to draw an extra ray. We'll say that. So I have an extra ray coming out of this angle. And so now if I were to, let's say if this was on a piece of paper and I cut the paper, along this line, I would have two new angles. So I would have this angle here, and I would have this angle here. And if I measured these two angles, they should add up to 80 degrees. And so I'm not going to grab the protractor, but I'm just going to kind of estimate. And so this one, let's say, is 20 degrees. Okay, this angle here. And then this larger portion would be, we'll say, 60 degrees. And like I said before, if we add these together, 60 plus 20, we would get 80, okay, the total of the larger angle. And so this is what decomposing and composing angles looks like, is when you have an original angle and then you break it down into smaller pieces. You can also take the smaller pieces and you can combine them to create the larger angle. So let's look at an example of that. So here we have quite a bunch of angles, and it says here, what is the value of angle QRS? All right, so first let me identify angle QRS. So here's Q, R, and S. So angle QRS is actually the entire angle. It's all the angles, together. They're all combined. These angles here, so angle QRT and TRU and URS, these are what we would call adjacent angles. These angles here, they share a ray, and then these angles here also share a ray. So you can call them several things. You can call them, combined angles or adjacent angles. And so just so you're familiar with that. But let's go ahead and see what are we going to do in order to solve this question. So you can either, obviously we're going to be adding all these degrees together, but you have a couple choices. You could add 2 together and then add the third one, or if you want to, you could stack them all together and add them all together. I'm going to choose to add 2 and then I'll add the third one on afterwards. So I need all these measurements, so 40 plus 65. Okay, that's going to give me 0 plus 5 is 5, 4 plus 6 is 10. So far I'm up to 105 degrees. So I've added angles QRT and TRU. And I still need to add that last little bit. So I'm going to add 25 for angle URS. And so now my total is going to be 1 plus 2 is 3, bring down the 1, 130 degrees. So the value of this entire setup, so let me draw my arc real fast. So this whole area here is equal to 130 degrees. And you figure that out simply by adding all the angles in that area. Now, this is one way that this can be presented in a question. They might ask you, by the name of the angle, or they could present it to you this way. And here I have my angles, but I don't have the points like I did before, but I do have a missing value here. So this setup is a little bit different, but it's still the same concept. So my question here is, what is the value of K? And K, as the arc here represents, is the total amount in between this ray here and this ray here. Okay, it's the entire amount of degrees in this space. So again, I would simply figure this out by combining the amounts inside. So 35 plus 40 is 75. So the value of K is 75 degrees. Pretty easy stuff today, pretty easy lesson. There's actually not going to be an activity for today's lesson because what we're going to do is we're going to combine today's lesson with tomorrow's lesson, and then you'll do an activity after that. So for today, if you just want to work on your Imagine Math for 30 minutes, that'll be good enough. And we will be back here tomorrow for our final lesson on angles. Take care. Bye.